Soph, an absolutely massive win for us today. There was no room for error with Leicester winning earlier on today, with Norwich getting beaten by Chelsea. No room for error. We rode our luck massively at times, but those guys again, Martial, Rashford at it again, Bruno in moments, making things happen, and we got the job done in the end.
Yeah, exactly. We got the job done. It wasn't pretty. I said I wanted us to start like fast because I think against Villa we didn't start fast. There's been a few games really where we've started slow, and I wanted us to hit them from the off. And I thought Palace started well. Obviously, they looked a threat throughout. We were really lucky with the VAR decision and the penalty that wasn't given as well. I'm interested to see actually. Did you think that was a penalty? Because I'm seeing a lot of mixed views on that one.
Don't ask me that, Soph. Let me ask you. Yeah, just stick to the positive. Listen, I can see that he does touch the ball first, but if that was given, I don't know if I could argue. It was one of them. It was very fortunate. Very fortunate.
It was, but you know what? You have to have a look at times, and I think today we had a lot of luck. When we got a second goal, I could relax a bit, but up until that point, I felt on edge, felt tense, I felt like Palace looked constantly dangerous. But I thought Matic came on and he steadied it a little bit. I thought we looked a lot more assured, kept the ball a lot better when Matic came on as well, and it just brought his experience and a bit of calmness to our play. So
does that show why he played? Does that show? I mean, look, I know Solskjaer had to change it because of Matic playing game in, game out. He's obviously not going to have that in his legs. But in terms of just the golfing class between the two in that position, does it show maybe why? What do you think that Matic should be playing there instead of McTominay?
Yeah, I think Matic is nailed down that spot at the minute, and I've said that I think Fred and McTominay need to be watching him and learning from how he's doing. Pogba mentioned how he watched Bruno before he could play with him to learn how to play alongside him, and I think those players need to be watching Matic because he's come on today, and he just shows that you don't always have to play a wonder pass. You just need to keep the ball moving. He's always shadowing and shielding our defence as well, and I just think that's the player that you want to learn from. And like you say, Matic isn't here for the long run. He's just had a new deal, but I think it'd be more for him trying to teach how to play that disciplined role, because Fred, I think, is fantastic, but he's not disciplined enough. And I thought you saw today the difference between Matic and McTominay in that role as well. But look, I think Palace deserve credit as well. I think they pressed us really well. They're obviously trying to nick the ball up high, and like I say, they were a constant threat. But I think ultimately our quality shone through in the end. Yeah, it took us a while to get there, but I think when our forward players, especially Bruno, Rashford and Martial, got into the game a bit more, then I think that we looked constantly dangerous going the other way. And it was all, for me, it was like, I've said that after lockdown, I haven't felt in doubt. And today I felt a bit on edge, but I never really thought that we weren't going to get the win. I felt on edge. But, I did, and that's what I mean. Like I did it. I thought, you know what? No, Bruno's going to. He hasn't really done much this game. I thought I'm still expecting something from Bruno in this game, and I think finally we did get it. I think again, I know I keep saying it, but I thought Rashford again was quality today as well.
It's great that he's coming into form now. I think it was Adam who was saying like, don't worry about him. He's gonna get into form just when we need him. And we're slowly starting to see that. He didn't start off after lockdown very well, just wasn't at the races, and slowly kept raising his performances. And that's why all United fans have been saying, you don't drop him, you just keep playing him and playing him and playing him. And he came into his own today. I mean, BT gave man of the match to Bruno, but I don't know what you thought. Marcus Rashford was my man of the match. But on Rashford, I mean, how well did he play today?
I thought they were feeding off scraps really going forwards. Like we were so disjointed, and I think when Rashford did get it, I think he always looked positive, constantly willing to try and run in behind. And I thought his goal as well, the little dummy, so banana for a hot dog and just a calm finish. I think it was a perfect time to score the goal as well. But I think out the front three, in particular, Rashford I thought stood out today. But I want to say Martial as well. I think he's just getting better and better. And I think today, again, feeding off scraps, but his link up, his hold up play is constantly good. And I'm grateful again that he scored because I think he deserved it.
He did. So why are we starting games so slowly? You look at post-lockdown, to be fair, we started slowly against Spurs. I remember in the first sort of 5-10 minutes against Sheffield United, we started kind of slow as well. Not the first 10 minutes, because we scored about the 6th minute, but I remember the first few exchanges were just slow. Started slow against Bournemouth, started slow against Villa, started slow against Southampton, started awfully, the whole half wasn't great, and even though it was 1-0 up at the break. What's going on with the starts?
It's an interesting question, isn't it? Is it the pressure? Is it the fact that obviously there's a lot of pressure on us at the minute to get the results and we're a bit scared, a bit tentative going into games? That could be the case. But for me, it's like if Bruno doesn't turn up, I feel like our whole team performance goes down the pan. And I think if Bruno has a quiet start and we have a negative start, I think we need him on the ball as much as possible. And I think you'd argue that he didn't play that well today, but when he did up the levels, we upped the levels. And I think that's no coincidence. I think he affects us that much, not just on the pitch, but mentally as well, his mindset. If he gives the ball away, he's constantly trying to get the ball back, and that spreads. I love that about him.
So basically, just give him it. Just give it to
Just
Bruno.
give it Bruno. Just give it Bruno. Things will happen. He'll either score or he'll assist.
I mean, look, the top 4 race is obviously hotting up massively. Leicester put down a marker today. Could we respond? Could we stand up to the challenge? Yes, we could. Roll on to, yes, we got Chelsea. Hopefully we come through that unscathed and get through to into the final. But if you're looking to play the same team again, I mean, would you play the same team again twice in a row, or you think that's too much, bearing in mind the game's coming too quickly, expecting changes against Chelsea?
It is too much, but I think when you're United, you want to try and win every competition. So if I was Ollie, as long as the players felt fit enough to do so, I would start with our strongest 11 and then fetch them off if we get a few early goals. That's the way I would always do it. But it's an awkward one because obviously you don't want to pick injuries. We've got massive games coming up, as you've already mentioned. But I think you see, like, when Ollie looks to the bench, the lack of quality that he has to bring on. And I think today, like, highlights the lack of squad depth we've got. And I think we can't rely on them players. So I would more be looking, start with our strongest 11 and then obviously replace them afterwards. That's what I would do. But obviously, we don't want any injuries. So it's a headache for Ollie. But you'd say it's a nice headache to have because we're still obviously in the winning top 4. Obviously, you've got a semi-final coming up. And we could be in worse positions to be in, couldn't we?
Obviously, we've won, so I kind of know the answer. But in terms of how the results have gone after the Southampton game, I mean, with top 4, are you still confident? Do you think we'll just go on and just beat West Ham and then beat Leicester? Or do you think that Leicester might drop points against Spurs and then it leaves us with a bit more room? Do you think Liverpool might have a reaction against Chelsea and make them lose? What do you predict is going to happen?
To be honest, I couldn't care less about the other teams. We've got to focus on ourselves. So it's nice if they drop points, but we've got to focus on us. And I'm under no illusion that if we play like we did today against some of the top teams, we're going to get absolutely battered. Like giving the ball away in midfield, careless areas. And Palace didn't punish us. And I'm not ignoring that. I see all the signs that that's dangerous. So we have got to up our levels. Today wasn't good enough, but we got the result in the end, and that's what matters. But yeah, I'm confident. Like I said, I think we just focus on us, take it one game at a time.
Last thing, Soph, was AU offside?
It's close, isn't it? He was offside, but it's harsh. Like, I always liked it when the forward got the advantage, like, from each spot. If that was the other way around, I'd be fuming. But it was offside by the rules.
Who cares? Wasn't a penalty, wasn't offside, as they say. Listen, in all honesty, we are very lucky there. It could have gone a different way, but with the way VAR is moving, you're just not surprised anymore, are you? Sophie, your man of the match was?
I would give it Rashford. Everyone in the chat's going to be like, oh, you love Rashford, you love Rashford. But I thought he played well.
I agree with you. I agree with you. I agree with you. Okay, no problem, Soph. I will see you after West Ham. Actually, no, after Chelsea. Peace.
Yeah, Chelsea. Take care. Cheers.